Thank you everyone for joining us today. We are going to allow for 1 minute to allow people who have not been able to connect. They can do so up to 3:01, and then we'll be starting. Perfect. That was quick. 3:01 already. Thank you everyone for joining. It is great to have you all here. Welcome to our monthly series of webinars. Today we are going to have a very interesting subject and very good team members here to what I like to call our dream team. My name is Maciel Popa and I will be helping you today to host. I am part of the marketing and communications department. So welcome all of you. And I would like to introduce you to all of our team members who are today, starting with Tomas Bisono. Hi, Tomas, how are you?
Hi, Maciel. Glad to be here. Everybody, welcome. Very excited to be here this afternoon.
That's awesome. Tomas is our current Director of Customer Success, and he's going to be sharing a lot of interesting information with us today. I like to say welcome to Carol Gonzalvo, to our Director of Operations. Hi, Carol, how are you?
Hi, Maciel. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Great, love your vibe. And last but not least, Lillian McCann. Hi, Lil, our VP of Operations. How are you?
Hi, Maciel. I'm doing great today. Wonderful to join you today in this webinar.
Awesome. I love your pin.
Thank you.
Always. So today I am not going to talk anymore and I'm going to give the floor to all of these amazing team members. It's all yours, Tomas.
Thank you, Maciel. And again, welcome everybody. You know, when I first joined CCD, I have to confess, I was very confused with all the acronyms used within the confines of the contact center. Being an engineer by trade, I immediately tried to focus on how efficiency is measured and found myself directly in front of one of the main KPIs that can be used to calculate productivity. For all of us that work in the contact center space, average handle time, or AHT, for how it's commonly known, is, put simply, the measure of improved efficiency. Would you say that it's more or less accurate, Carol?
That's definitely accurate, Thomas. In simple words, AHT represents the time that requires an agent to fulfill a call or call it complete from beginning to end.
Perfect. Well, now that we've gotten a refreshed idea of what is AHT, the perpetual questions we all seek to answer is, how do we improve it? But before we take a deep dive into answering that, we would like to cover three main ideas during today's webinar. Number one, what is the typical AHT for patient scheduling? Number two, what is the financial impact of improvements in average handle time? And number three, how do the improvements in efficiency impact patient care? But first, let's stop for a minute to understand the components of average handle time. Lillian, can you elaborate for us a little bit on what is talk time, which is the first one of the components?
Definitely. You know, this is such a simple yet important KPI. And talk time is, as its name states, it's the time invested by a care specialist or a patient care specialist speaking during the interaction. You know, one of the things that we need to be cautious with is as we talk, we will most likely start documenting part of the process. So obviously, representatives will always start looking for improved efficiencies through each one of the steps. So that's just one of the things to look out for. But again, it's time invested speaking through the interaction.
And logically, there's other components which include total hold time, which are just the seconds, well, hopefully just seconds, the agent employs in activities such as referencing technical information or looking into the details of a particular exam or confirming a availability on a certain center. There are also additional activities related to average handle time that fall under the umbrella of what we call a call follow-up time. For examples of these, I want to ask Carol to illustrate some of them.
Thank you, Thomas. So on the follow-up time, these scenarios may vary, of course, depending on the call itself or modalities handled. But to mention a few, additional documentation needed on a patient file, for instance, will be one of those scenarios done on follow-up. Orders that might not be complete or not be in the system, and we have to do follow-up with the practice or front desk. And even health insurance items or pre-certifications needed prior to scheduling. Obviously, it depends on the situation, and some of those scenarios might be dealt with while having the patient on hold, but others would also be with the use of after call, or even having to end up scheduling a call back to the patient so that they don't sit through the process.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, after that brief description of the three main components of AHT, we're now ready to start our deep dive into each one of the main topics we're going to cover today. Okay, so let's jump right into it. We believe that if we're going to talk about benchmarks, we need to illustrate all those aspects that may impact efficiency in our industry. Carol, why don't you help us understand what are some of the standards that are tracked in our industry and why is patient scheduling AHT higher than normal AHT?
So handle time hovers normally around 6 to 8 minutes within the industry. Now, as you said, typically patient scheduling handle time is higher, mainly because of how thorough the process is. So looking at more strict protocols, having to capture or review patients' history prior to scheduling, and even the insurance verification process, where we have to obtain an answer before we can go ahead and move forward, would impact that handle time. There are other factors, obviously, and that's going to depend on modalities, scenarios, if the patient has all the information handy.
Great. And obviously, if we're talking about standards, we definitely have to look into what are the practices within our industry. So Lillian, what are those practices that could sustain or improve average handle time?
Sorry, I was muted. We're live, right? One of the things is obviously to communicate it clearly. Through that clear channel of communication, everyone knows what to do and how to manage their average handle time. But at the end of the day, we got to be careful not to police the metric when we're communicating what the expectation of the different components is. The other thing is to inspect what you expect. That's typical lingo in our industry as well. Take a call sample. Through that sample, review it, look at the different call types and the duration that each one of them is taking, and see through the process of the call, in the call flow, is there any waste that we're seeing that we could probably be lean with? And when we coach it to the representatives, make sure that every single one of those examples that we're coaching is situational, based on the process encountered and or found when we're doing the inspection.
Great. And logically, if we have covered already standards and have spoken through practices, talking about benchmark would be complete unless we talk about industry trends. And as a specialized contact center, we have been observing and tracking two very important market movers. The first one being the evolution of desktop and web-based applications, especially those related to artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also a more specific segmentation scheme that can help in moving contact centers toward a more customer or patient-centric offering. Of course, we can never maximize the benefits of the improvements in average handle time without knowing the financial impact of those improvements. So, Carol, how would you say these improvements can affect or reduce the number of drop calls experienced by the contact center?
Well, we can look at the impacts of the technology improvements and web-based applications through two different lenses, Thomas. First, I think it's the simplest one and much more technical. And it's that the more that we transition to those web-based applications, it means a more lighter load to the computer itself, meaning a better performance in terms of connectivity, stability, and experience for the agent, which helps ensure that they can get through the call faster, right? It's just easier for them if they don't have the tech issue part. The second portion is leveraging data, AI, and machine learning, as you mentioned earlier, making sure that we could properly staff our team, put in place practices or on the back end processes for the most simple and repetitive task would help streamline that process, helping reduce wait times, in turn reducing dropped calls. So definitely important to consider this.
And obviously, when we're talking about streamlining processes, we definitely need to understand that those improvements are going to enhance patient satisfaction. So if we have any chance to transform our operations into a patient-centric contact center, we must improve patient satisfaction. The typical script that we may find in your traditional call flow is no longer enough. We must drive the interaction with empathy to be able to humanize the experience. This is something we're going to elaborate on as we move forward. But for now, the best way to achieve this is through sustaining high service levels. Yes, one more very important thing we can never forget is revenue. Revenue can be positively impacted when handle time moves in the right direction. So Lilian, how would you say this can be achieved consistently?
Part of the examples that y'all provided are key. So obviously trying to see how technological components could assist on that one in order to keep it and sustain it down. However, it's purely transactional. You know, the lower the average handle time, if the people and the volume is in place, calls handled per hour will go up, and therefore potentially appointments set will go up. At the end of the day, if customer satisfaction is there, service levels are there, and the patient is satisfied because they got a quick interaction with the representative, they will go back to their referring doctor, word of mouth, and therefore organic referrals may also increase. So those are two components basically that could assist in the revenue piece.
Thank you, Lilian. That was very insightful. Of course, nothing of what we have covered today would have any meaning whatsoever without us knowing the impact all of this has on patient care. So we believe this happens through three lenses. Number one, by optimizing the patient experience. Number two, by delivering outcomes that matter to the patients. And number three, by driving patient loyalty. Carol, why don't you tell us how we could optimize the experience for the patient?
That's good that we're actually touching base on patient experience. But before I go to those three or two main items, did you know that there was a customer communication survey ran every year?
Oh, no, didn't know that.
I'll be honest, I came across reading through references, so it's not that I'm super smart here, okay? But going through those results, I did find that 73% of those that answered or took the survey for 2020 said that the most annoying part of having to contact us was waiting on hold, waiting to be attended. And then another 12% said that they rather not even talk to a human being. And the reason why I bring this up is because it's good to understand what drives our customer base, our patients. What do they need? So to optimize that experience, I would say we need to leverage technology, definitely, creating more channels for communication so that they can choose how to reach us, how to schedule their appointments, how to get basic information, even to on site hours, for instance, right? Operational hours. And then second, and most importantly, is ensuring that we're optimizing all of our processes in looks of reducing that waiting time for our patients when calling in. That in turn will add value, obviously, to the experience itself.
Yes, and as we achieve all that optimization, Lilian, how do you consider we strongly deliver the outcomes that matter most to the patients?
You know, Carol hit on some of those in regards to reducing those long wait times before being handled or passed on to a representative, and potentially looking at different channels of communication. At the end of the day, what matters to our patients is that the customer care representative and or specialist is responsive, is efficient, builds rapport and empathetic with them throughout the call, and that we focus on what their need is in order to provide that expected result of getting a timely and quick appointment set in the quickest manner available. Basically, get me in as soon as you can. And Thomas, obviously, those are some of the things that will set through in those moments of truth and those moments of need that they have, because at the end of the day, having to wait or to schedule an appointment is stressful enough for them.
Absolutely, and that was really well said, because those outcomes is what we all refer to as moments of truth now. And it's through these interactions that we can drive patient loyalty. How do you feel when a rep treats you as you were his or her friend? Would it help you to have someone remind you of your coming appointment via more than one channel? How would it make you feel after being greeted by your first name when you get to the center? All of these moments of truth offer a premier opportunity to delight the patient and thus drive loyalty. And at CCD, we strive to provide all of our partners with valuable opportunities to delight their patients, not only by offering a best-in-class service, but also by helping them streamline their processes. CCD has been involved in patient care since 2010, serving more than 200 imaging locations across the US, logging a surprising amount of more than 750,000 appointments, serving 3 out of the top 5 radiology brands in the US. The expertise we bring to the table is industry leading and cutting edge. We will be more than happy to serve you and provide you with health specific solutions that will drive efficiency and enhance revenue opportunities. So as we move into the final part of today's webinar, we wouldn't be offering all the valuable insights you're looking for without providing you a glimpse into the best practices we have learned that will improve average handle time, which are: number 1, guarantee a clear call flow. Number 2, optimize the use of technology. And number 3, drive the call with empathy. Without a clear call flow, it will be impossible to improve patient interactions. How would you say this is done best, Carol?
So I think the most important part is we need to understand that getting it right, getting the correct call flow in front of our agents or our specialists is crucial to guaranteeing call control, efficiencies, and a seamless experience, both for the agent and the patient, right? So understanding that, I think to get that perfect script, it needs to be dynamic. We need to be able to flexibilize some of the processes that might be adding to the flow itself. It needs to be coherent. And when I mean flex a little bit the script or dynamic, it's more around, and I'll give you an example, Thomas. COVID questions, now that we're all going through this, right? If I ask, if a patient up front says, hey, I was diagnosed a year ago, it wouldn't make much sense if I then follow up with, has it been 10 days since you had the last fever? You already told me it was a year ago, right? So it's more of keeping us honest to what the patient is giving up front, having clear protocols available to our agents to refer to during the interaction, and the correct screening questions as part of the call flow.
And obviously how to leverage part of that technology so we can deliver that to the patient now. And technology is a great equalizer of our times. Having said that, Lilian, how do we make sure to leverage that technology to improve efficiency?
You know, let's talk about automation. One of the examples that Carol just provided is a great one. You know, automate as much as we can through the call process and or call flow. If your screen allows you to program in the back end clicks and flicks and COVID questions come up, for example, automate that as soon as that response comes up, there's no additional need for follow-up on those screening questions, for example. You know, once that's come out, you know, make everything else go away, disappear. The agent won't even focus on them because they're not there. Another thing is to continuously look for ways that we can improve and simplify the risks, similar to the whole automation piece. You know, is there anything that we can color code that is a must-have in every single interaction so that the representative can ensure that through that dynamic call flow, if at any time they get lost, those blips of color will bring their attention back to that focus, for example, in regards to items that cannot be missed whatsoever. Another great example is, can we automate and or program the greeting? So that way, once the greeting is completed, such as, you know, hi, this is Lilian from CCD, may I have your date of birth? The representative is focused right there that they've got to gather that date of birth at that moment in time. And it brings back that focus. So obviously, anything that could be automated or taken away from the hands of the specialist would in turn reduce average handle time.
And obviously, one of the big things that we need to look into is how we improve the quality of it. And all what you talked about, it really talks a lot into that. So last but not least, as our partners have been telling us in the recent past, quality is quickly becoming the premier way to differentiate your service from your competitors. As I said before, humanizing the experience is part of it, but making sure you are constantly on the lookout for ways to improve the quality of your interactions will make your business a champion in customer experience. The best way to achieve this is to create playbooks that will tell all your reps, supervisors, and managers how to handle each of the events that lead to those moments of truth we have mentioned several times already. As we conclude our webinar, we would like to focus on the 4 keys that we consider will guarantee to improve average handle time. Number 1, offer an omni-channel experience. Carol, you are the expert on the subject, so would you tell us why this is so important?
I wouldn't say expert, Thomas, but yes, definitely. And I think we've touched on this on the other items already. It's all about experience and efficiencies, both for the patient and the center, right? So understanding what is the correct channel for our patient. What do they prefer? Do they want to talk to a human being? Do they want to cut down waiting times? Do they want to text for prep work, for instance, right? Is key. And then for the center, obviously is how efficient can we be? How can we reduce cost? So leverage different channels, cross-train agents. It's definitely something to look into.
And all you're saying really drives on the quality of that interaction. And so it's without hesitation that I stress the importance of quality in optimizing average handle time. Without a strict focus on the actions that add value and removal of those that do not, becoming successful in the efficiency arena is practically impossible. Time to value talks directly to successfully reaching the enormously important moments of truth. In your experience, Lilian, how do we continue to excel in this arena at CCD?
It's once we found those root causes in regards to impact of average handle time, it's all in targeting of coach, coach, coach. So going back to the staff, the supervisors, our specialists, and coaching on the areas of opportunities found in order to reduce any waste time as we can find in the process, and therefore ensure that every single time we're speaking to any of our patients, we're giving them back the time that they truly value, which is getting back to their day-to-day as quickly, as smoothly as possible, as friendly and empathetic as possible, and therefore enhancing the patient experience that hopefully in turn will provide customer satisfaction.
Absolutely. And finally, but not without importance, we get to the customization part of the experience. Customization is something that has disrupted entire industries, and contact centers won't be the exception. We may not be entirely there yet, but as AI and machine learning become more of the norm and less the exception, contact centers will be forced to evolve and adapt. At CCD, we are constantly looking for ways to make the experience more tailored to each patient for all our partners. Given that most of our partners favor different success factors, this may be easier said than done. But without big dreams, no change is everlasting. Before we go to the Q&A, Carol, Lilian, and I would like to thank you for being here with us today. We hope to have provided you with some valuable insights and ideas on how to continue to make your business more efficient and successful.
Thank you so much, Tomas. Thank you all for all the interesting information you have shared today with us. Right now, we would like to open the forum to who would like to place any kind of questions. Let me remind you that you can just go to the menu box, and on the drop-down menu, you have an arrow that says questions. Feel free to place your questions. We might not be able to answer them all. However, we will be answering them directly for respecting everyone's time. So I would like to begin with our first question here. And it is, what are those best practices to how to book appointments in less than 5 minutes?
That's a good question. I'll take that one. So I think it comes down to having the correct tools to our agents, correct call flow, clear protocols available to our agents to reference to, as we mentioned before. And then looking at performance management, quality of the interactions, making sure that we reduce unnecessary items or wrap up time by, just to name one, documenting patient's file during the call, for instance, rather than doing it after, right? So it's a combination of things.
Great, thank you, Carol, so much. Here we have a second question, and it's on behalf of Soraya Sanchez. What are the techniques you apply to improve the AHT?
I'll take that one, Maciel, and thanks. I really like this question because it appeals directly to my process improvement background. I think the most important aspect is to take a deep dive into each of the processes that encompass average handle time and try to strengthen even more those activities that the agents already do well. By focusing on their strengths, you will drive up patient satisfaction. Then, while keeping satisfaction high, you can employ coaching techniques that will improve or even eradicate the weaknesses that representatives may be struggling with. Do better the things you do well and improve those things that you don't do so well.
Thank you so much, Tomas, for that. Well, this would be actually our last question, and it comes from Frederick Marte. What would you recommend to a department that has a lack of availability on staff members in order to distribute patients accordingly?
I'll go ahead and take that one, Maciel. Um, you know, lack of availability means that there's call after call coming in. So obviously one of the first things we want to look at is our staffing, right? Are the correct people in the correct place at the right time? Is there anything that we can automate? Is there any waste in the process that we're seeing through the call flow that we can reduce and therefore reduce that from the formula, increase or reduce the average handle time and get more efficiencies? But at the end of the day, before I even continue talking about other efficiencies, I think it's a great time to introduce you to our VP of Business Development, Will Scott, who can insightfully meet with anyone that wants to look into these items in the near future.
Hello, everyone. My apologies. I'm not able to get my camera system working today, having a little bit of technical difficulty, but you all may be seeing my name as the follow-ups come around for your attendance today. You also may be seeing Nicole Rodriguez's name pop up in your email. She works with me in business development as well as business development representative. My job is to answer any pressing questions you may have or additional questions you may have about what we do and how we operate here at CCD. And also, create demo for you if you'd like to see a demo, live demonstration of what we are capable of here at CCD, and just see if we're the right fit for you and for your business model. So you'll have my contact information. Please feel free to utilize it, to contact me at any time. And you'll also see down in the chat the link for the live demo sign up. So you're welcome to utilize that link and sign up for our live demo. If you have any questions, I'll be readily available to answer them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Will, and thank you each and every one of you. Before we leave, I would like to allow you access to this information. CCD, we are really focused in maintaining an educational platform to let you know about all of our best practices. So feel free to access our online free events, the next one being the RBMA and CCD hosted webinar on September 30th. You can also take a look on our resource center through our webpage and check out our monthly blogs for more information. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you to our dream team. Thank you, Tomas. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Lilian. Thank you, Will, for being here. And thank you, all of you. Bye-bye, and see you next month.
See you all next month. Thanks.
Take care. Thanks.